What's up, everybody? How's it going? This is Kudo, and this is my room. Today, we're gonna be talking about Resident Evil, and we're gonna be just ranking all the Resident Evil games from order from best S to all the way to E or F, which is down here. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, I've played most of the Resident Evil games. There are very few that I have not played, and the ones that I haven't played, I don't think that are really relevant to story or anything. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. We first one here is actually gonna be the Dark Side Chronicles. This is a solid D for me. It's boring. It's not really good. This one came out on the Wii as well, and it's the gameplay is weird. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. Uh, Definitely not a huge fan. Okay, so next one is gonna be Resident Evil Zero. I'm sorry, Resident Evil, original Resident Evil. So Resident Evil is gonna be a solid 8 for me. I believe the remake that they did a few years later, it's better. It does improve a whole lot. I don't know anybody that likes the original over the remake, but personally, I just like the remake. I think they did a pretty good job, and I have a good time. It's really a good game. I don't think it's a bad game whatsoever. Next one is gonna be Resident Evil 2. Actually, you know what? There it is. Resident Evil remake. There you go. I want to go ahead and put them both as at A here. All right. So the next one is obviously gonna be this one right here with Resident Evil 2, which I don't know if there's two Resident Evil 2s as well, or if it's just one. I don't know. I don't see both. So this one's gonna be an S. I love Resident Evil 2. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Particularly Resident Evil 2. The remake did a lot of pretty cool stuff with kind of like the RE engine and the way that the game looks and feels. It still feels very much like a Resident Evil 2 game, but obviously with newer graphics and improved stuff and everything. Gameplay, they tried to stick it as much as possible to like the original Resident Evil 2, which by the way I found that as well. And they just did a pretty good job. So Resident Evil 2 original on PlayStation 2, I still own my copy. It's a really fun game. I remember playing it as a young guy. It's actually my first Resident Evil game as well. So I have a lot of memories with this game. It's a really good game. So the other one right here, this is also another one of those Wii games, which I don't really like them. They're like pretty fucking bad. I'm not even gonna talk about them too much. Resident Evil Gaiden. This one's gonna be a C. Okay, so Resident Evil Gaiden with the Game Boy Color is really funny because it's not really. I mean, like it's a Resident Evil game, but like the gameplay is like the weird with the gunplay. I'm using quotations, man. It was pretty bad. Okay, so Resident Evil Outbreak is gonna get a B for me. Actually, I really want them to do Resident Evil Outbreak again. That's file 2, this is file 1. Because what they did with these games is actually pretty cool. It's multiplayer before the multiplayer era that now we know and sometimes hate or love, depending on who you are. And one of the things that they did with these games is basically the fact that they created a whole thing about like multiplayer scenarios where you play with other people and then just survivors of the Raccoon City outbreak, and this is just like different scenarios with different groups of people and everything. I actually quite like the idea of it, and I was a huge fan of these games. Actually, I still own my copies of these games because I used to play them with my friends and stuff, like do a LAN party kind of thing and play it. These are really fun games. If you haven't already played them, pretty interesting. So Resident Evil Dead Aim. So this one is actually gonna be a B for me as well. It's not a bad game at all. Actually, one thing that I like about that game is the fact that it's a first person perspective. However, the shooting weird is weird. It's a weird Resident Evil game. It happens on a boat. It's really contained. You don't really see anything come out of it or anything like that. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting game. So the next one I have on the list here is Resident Evil Revelations 2. It's gonna be a B for me. I actually don't like the Resident Evil Revelations, either the one or the two. These games follow Jill as a protagonist. They're good. I think the first one came out on the 3DS. I don't remember that's where I played it. They're good spin-off games. Just kind of building up more to that story before or around the zombie outbreak and everything like that. It's just a really Resident Evil games. They're not super good, which I don't really think that they're like excelling in quality and anything like that. Umbrella Corps. Okay, these ones are like an A, and the other one here, where is it? I saw it earlier. Operation Raccoon City is a D. It is an F. It's the worst fucking Resident Evil game. I wasted my time with these games. These games are like garbage. They just I don't know what happened through this era of Capcom and like them trying to build these trash games, but they were really bad. Resident Evil 6. Actually, I'm gonna put this at C. I don't think it's necessarily a bad game. I think there were some interesting redeeming qualities as far as the game and everything. However, this is where Capcom really kind of they lost their edge. They lost what they were trying to do with the series, and they really lost like the way that they were like doing stuff and everything. I feel like they did a pretty poor idea as far as like doing what they were supposed to do with the Resident Evil franchise and everything. So I'm glad to see them back again in action. I'm glad to see them back again doing good and everything. So definitely. C is just Resident Evil 6 just wasn't that good to me. Alrighty, so Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. This is the original one. I'm actually gonna just give it as a C as well. It's not really good, guys. A lot of people like this game. I don't, and I'm sorry again to the people that like the game or anything. But to me, Resident Evil 3 is like uh, it's just not good. It lacks a lot of the aspects of the Resident Evil franchise. It just it's missing a lot of stuff that I liked on Resident Evil, and I don't know. It's just the whole Nemesis thing that he follows you around. It's almost the same thing as, say, the other Resident Evil games with like I'm sorry, not Resident Evil. Yeah, the other Resident Evil, like Resident Evil 2, which you also have Mr. X just following you around. It's kind of the same thing, kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think that they did a pretty poor job with this series, with the Resident Evil 3. But yeah, I mean, I've never been a fan of 3. I know some people are, but I'm not particularly a fan of it. So they're gonna do a remake as well. So the remake is gonna be actually, remake is gonna go sit as a solid B, maybe even as an A. But I think they did a good job. I actually quite enjoyed the remake. So I know some people that didn't, and it's understandable. It's understandable. Some people like them, some people don't. I particularly liked it. I thought it was a pretty cool idea of it, and I think they did some pretty interesting things and everything. The To me, Resident Evil 3 has never been like a good game. So I know some people love the game. I don't. So I don't hold it to in a pedestal or anything like that. It's not in my top favorite games. All right. So next one is gonna be Resident Evil 7. That's also gonna be a S for me. I actually really loved a lot of the new aspects that they did for Resident Evil 7, particularly when it came to like the first person perspective. I played this on VR actually, and they did some pretty cool stuff with when it comes to when it comes to the gameplay, the storytelling that they did, and everything. Uh, Overall, they just did a pretty good job. I'm impressed with what they did and everything, and they did good. I honestly like I was really impressed with 7. It was definitely a return to the series in a good way, and this marks the moment where Resident Evil went back again to the roots and everything. So Resident Evil Code Veronica. I'm actually gonna give this one a solid bump into a B as well. I don't think it's super good either. I think it's okay, as far as like the series and everything. Fun fact to me, Resident Evil 2. I'm sorry, not Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil the Resident Evil Code Veronica is supposed to be like actual Resident Evil 3, but to me, like it's never been like, oh, like it's so much better than Resident Evil 3. Yeah, I ranked a little bit higher, but it's not like that much better of a game. That like they're both kind of okay to me. I know during this time period with Resident Evil and Capcom, they were just kind of experimenting the different kinds of games and everything, and obviously we got zero and everything, so not every game is bad, but this game particularly I wasn't super impressed or anything like that. But the next game on the list here is Resident Evil 4, which is also one of my favorite games of all time. It's gonna see it as an S rank. I think the Resident Evil 4 was kind of like the reinvention of the formula after going from Resident Evil 3 and Code Veronica. Seeing Resident Evil 4, like it was like a huge jump, not only like graphics, because if you look at Code Veronica, it looks better than than a PlayStation 2 game or like a GameCube game, but it's still like a little bit rough around the edges. But then Resident Evil 4, which came out on the GameCube and the PS2, it was like revolutionary. Not only in like a graphics perspective, but like the gameplay, a lot of the aspects that they added to the game. It was actually quite a bit of a long game if you think about it from like other Resident Evil games, like Resident Evil 3 or 2, that are fairly short. This one just really added other aspects. They brought back the Mercenaries as well, which is one of my favorite modes as well. They just did a lot of good stuff. I really, really love Resident Evil 4. So the next one is going to be Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 should be sitting at a B as well. Man, I'm just adding all these games into the B. I think this Resident Evil 5 is good. Is better than Resident Evil. Other Resident Evil 3, for example, it does have a lot of the cool aspects. It did have a lot of the Resident Evil 4 mechanics. Like you can definitely see that they were gearing more towards like a um more action Resident Evil game, which is now what they're known for the more action packed and everything like that. It's not bad at all. I think that they did some pretty interesting stuff here. I actually quite like that one. And now Resident Evil Zero for me is interesting because I'm gonna put it as an 8, but it's only because I personally like uh Rebecca. Like she's like one of like my favorite girl, and I like her a whole lot. And having a game where I play as Rebecca with Billy is fun. I like it. It's just I know some people have gonna have some things about it. It's like, oh, you put Resident Evil 5 and Code Veronica as a B, but then Zero is a A. I'm sorry, I just like the game. I know some people are gonna have something to say about it, but I like it a whole lot. So that's my personal take on that. And the last one, actually not last one, because we have two games to go here. So the last one is gonna be Mercenaries in 3D, which is gonna be a C. This one is fun because it's just a mindless mercenary game. There's nothing to it additionally or anything like that. By the way, I put the Gun Survivor games as have not played. I've not played these games, so I can't really like not really rate them or anything like that. And Resident Evil Zero, I'm sorry, Resident Evil Mercenaries in 3D. I even forgot that existed until very recently. When I saw it, I was like, huh. Wait a minute, like I remember this game. I remember playing this quite a bit when I bought it on the 3DS. That was like my first 3DS game too, which is crazy to think about. Because I was a fan of it. I really really liked the game. Anyway, with the last one we're gonna do is gonna be Resident Evil Village. It's a new one. It's also gonna go as an S. I am loving myself some Resident Evil Village, man. I love everything about this one. I don't know why. I really really love what they did with the series. I love what they did with this one particularly. They did a really solid job with the game and everything. I was really really hyped for everything they did about this. They did such an amazing job with the game, the characters, the story. Honestly, like everything about this game was phenomenal. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. I really really like the game. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this. This is my rating or ranking of all the Resident Evil games. I'm a huge fan of the series. I only not played two out of all the games, so I feel pretty proud of myself for this one. I didn't know like there was like any other ones or any weird ones or anything like that. We're obviously not doing like any of the multiplayer modes or anything, because I know they did like this other multiplayer game or anything like that. But anyway, like Resistance and that kind of stuff. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this, guys. It's been fun here just talking about Resident Evil stuff. I didn't want to really waste too much of your time, so I'm just kind of wrapping it up here. Anyway, yeah, shout out to my friend Devil May Pie. He did a similar video to that. So if you're a fan of the series, please check out his channel as well, or check out my channel since I'm new here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.